So, let's start with a huge question, maybe one of the biggest. What really drives us? I mean, what's the fundamental engine behind everything we do, every choice we make, every single ambition we have? It's a fascinating thing to think about.
Seriously, think about it for a second. If you had to boil down all of human history, every single person's hopes and dreams, into one core motivation, what would it be? Is it just about feeling good? Is it about being successful and powerful, or is it something else entirely?
We're not the first people to ask this, not by a long shot. For centuries, some of the most brilliant minds in history have tackled this very question, and they've come up with three really powerful and often competing ideas about what that core drive is.
So let's get into it. We're going to explore these three major theories. People sometimes call them the three wills. Each one gives us a completely different way of looking at who we are.
Okay, so here's the debate laid out for us. First up, you've got Sigmund Freud and his famous pleasure principle. He basically said we're instinct-driven animals, and our main goal is super simple: seek pleasure, avoid pain. But then you've got thinkers like Nietzsche and Adler who came along and said, nope, it's not pleasure, it's the will to power. They argued that what we really want is to achieve mastery and feel strong and capable. But then, there's this third, really profound idea from a psychiatrist named Viktor Frankl, the will to meaning. He proposed that what truly drives us is a deep inner need to find a purpose in our lives. And here's the kicker. While the first two theories were mostly thought up in an office, Frankl's was forged in a very, very different way.
Yeah? See, Freud and Adler, they figured their stuff out from their clinical practice, talking to patients on a couch. But Frankl's theory, wow, it wasn't born in an office, not even close.
Let me introduce you to Viktor Frankl. He was this brilliant neurologist and psychiatrist in Vienna, but his ideas about what drives people weren't just tested in some cozy study. No, they were tested and hammered into shape in literally the worst environment of human suffering you can possibly imagine.
Yeah. His whole idea about meaning, it was put through the ultimate test during his 3 years as a prisoner in Nazi concentration camps, including the infamous Auschwitz. He wasn't just a doctor observing anymore. He was a subject in one of the most brutal experiments in all of human history. Just look at this timeline for a second. It's incredible. In 1941, he had a chance to escape to America, but he chose to stay to take care of his parents. By 1942, he and his entire family were deported. For 3 years, he suffered through horrors we can't even comprehend. And during that time, he lost everything. His parents, his brother, his wife, all of them gone. And yet, unbelievably, just a year after he was freed, he published his masterpiece, Man's Search for Meaning.
And this quote, this right here, is the absolute core of his entire philosophy. The Nazis took everything from him, his possessions, his family, they even took his name. He was just a number, 119104. But as he says here, the one thing they could never, ever take from him was the freedom to choose how he responded to all that suffering. So here he is, right? A prisoner himself, but he's also a psychiatrist, and he just observes. He's secretly studying his fellow inmates, and he starts to see this pattern emerge, a clear difference between the people who held on and the ones who gave up. And what he saw was fascinating. The ones who survived, it wasn't always about who was the strongest physically. It was about something much, much deeper. He realized that people found meaning in one of three ways. First, he said, you can find it by creating something or doing a deed. For him, that was his life's mission, to one day rewrite the scientific manuscript the Nazis had destroyed when he arrived. The second path? Love. Just experiencing something or encountering someone. He would have these intense, imaginary conversations with his wife in his head, and that love, that connection, made the suffering bearable. And the third, and maybe the most powerful, was found in the attitude we choose to take towards suffering that we simply cannot escape.
I mean, you can't even fathom the psychological pressure. People would go from initial shock to total apathy, just this emotional numbness you had to develop to survive. Many fell into what psychologists call learned helplessness. It's this terrifying state where you just give up completely because you feel like nothing you do matters anyway. Frankl saw that having a why, having a sense of meaning, was the only real defense against that fatal despair. It was the crucial difference between life and death.
And all of this, everything he learned in that hell, became the foundation for his own school of psychotherapy, logotherapy. It's a great name, actually. Logos is Greek for meaning, so it literally means healing through meaning. He argued this drive to find meaning is our primary motivation, even more fundamental than our drive for pleasure or for power.
Okay, so these are some heavy lessons, right? Forged in the darkest place imaginable. But what does it all mean for us in our everyday lives? Well, Frankl's ideas are incredibly relevant for all of our own struggles, whether they're big or small.
And this is the really practical takeaway. Frankl isn't saying, just think positive or pretend everything's fine when it's not. No way. This is about recognizing that your perspective is an incredibly powerful tool. It's about switching your mindset from asking, why is this happening to me, to asking, okay, what is this situation asking of me? It's a total game changer. It moves you from being a victim of your life to the person who's in charge of your response.
Frankl often quoted another philosopher, Nietzsche, and this one line, man, it just says it all. If you have a why, a real reason to live, a purpose that gives your struggles meaning, you can survive almost any how. Frankl didn't just think this was a nice idea, he lived it. He's the ultimate proof that this is true.
So that really leaves us with one final crucial question. And it's not for Frankl, it's for you. In your own life, in your work, in your relationships, and all the unavoidable struggles you're going to face, what is the meaning you're creating? What is your why?